Hi, Pastor Kip here. It's a joy to come to you on this, the first Sunday in the season of Advent. And Advent, of course, is the beginning of Christmas. It's the time that we prepare for the Christmas season. And the very first theme of Advent on this first Sunday is the idea of hope. I want you to hear these words from the prophet Isaiah, 700 years before the birth of Christ. Isaiah the prophet wrote this in Isaiah 9, verse 6. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the authority rests upon his shoulders, and he is named Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, and the Prince of Peace. The idea of hope is that we wait expectantly for the coming of the Messiah. We're not waiting during Advent in a passive way. We are preparing for the birth of the Christ child. And the people of Israel, the ancient Hebrews, waited 700 years for the coming of the Messiah. Think of all the generations that passed. Think of all the children that were taught each year about their expectation for the birth of the Christ child. It would ultimately happen in that little small town of Bethlehem. And yet, that would touch and change the world as we know it today. It's the power of hope itself that births within our heart as we begin the Advent season together. Once again, we are hoping for the coming of the Christ child, ready to celebrate the birth of the Messiah. And we offer hope to others when in the Spirit of Christ, particularly in this season of Advent that calls us to be generous of spirit when we extend that hope to other people. Several years ago, my wife and I were out doing some last-minute Christmas shopping on Christmas Eve during the day, and we stopped to have lunch at a restaurant. And there was hardly anybody in the restaurant, obviously because it was Christmas Eve, but they were open and we were hungry. And as we were sitting there in the restaurant, we struck up a conversation with our waitress. And my wife commented that she was sorry that she had to work on Christmas Eve and that we were there making her work, eating lunch. And she shared with us that she wanted to work as many hours as she could because she was a single mom and she had 3 children, and it was all that she could do to provide them Christmas gifts for the season. And after she left the table, my wife asked me, she said, "How much cash do you have in your wallet?" And I told her I had a few $50 bills that we were using for Christmas gifts. And she said, "Get them out. We're going to leave her a nice Christmas tip." And I reluctantly got out my money and gave it to her. Might as well. She's going to get it anyway, somehow. So I gave her the money. She wrote a very nice little note card to this woman that we had just met for the very first time and left the money, wishing her a Merry Christmas. And then we left the restaurant, went on about our day. Later that night, after I concluded the Christmas Eve services, when I got back to my office to take my robe off and collect my thoughts and head home to celebrate Christmas with my family, there on my desk was an envelope with my name on it. I opened it and inside was a Christmas card. And inside the Christmas card was the exact amount of cash that I had left earlier that day in that restaurant for that waitress. And in the note was written, "Thanks, appreciation for your ministry. Just wanted to offer you this so that you could have it for the Christmas season to enjoy with your family." We extended hope to her. Someone extended hope to me, reminding us that Christ is the great gift of hope. And when we give it with a generous heart and a liberal spirit, we touch and change lives. It is true that unto us this child is born. Unto us this son is given. God's gift of hope in Jesus Christ is yours and mine. So how do we prepare for Advent? We prepare by getting our hearts and minds ready to receive once again the birth of the Christ. If I might put it this way, we make our heart a manger where Christ can be born afresh and anew. Hope. Perhaps you've heard it spelled like this. Hope is holding on, praying expectantly. That is the essence of Advent. We are holding on to loved ones and friends and family. We're holding on to all things dear, many traditions that form and shape our Christmas celebrations, and we're praying and waiting expectantly for the coming of Christ. My prayer is that He will be born afresh and anew in each of us. I hope you will join me today for this first Sunday of Advent worship And I pray God's richest Christmas blessings upon you. And I'll look forward to seeing you soon. Last but not least, today we light the candle of hope on the Advent wreath, the first candle in this holy season. And as it burns brightly, so it also reminds us of the burning power of God's Spirit, alive and at work in each of us. I wish you a blessed Advent season and a very Merry Christmas.